full name is António Luís Algarvio Dias Henriques. Well, it's a long name because I'm Portuguese. And my job title in KAUST is Event Specialist in Community Life. I have been in Saudi Arabia for a long time, 15 years actually. And what brought me to Saudi Arabia at first was teach music in a British school in the Eastern Province. So I came from Portugal around 2007, in the days of an economical crisis in those days. But a lot of what took me out of the country was actually wanting to explore, to know something different, to get out of Europe, to get to know the world. And Saudi Arabia has been amazing for that. It's just being in Saudi Arabia means I'm in a different world. And especially in 2007, that more than now, it was even more different. So my interest for music actually started a little bit late compared to many other musicians. So it was already in my late teens that I started playing. And just through my friends, as it happens with so many people, I started playing guitar because I had a guitar at home, playing a little bit of guitar. I signed up for drum lessons, which I loved, but my parents would not let me buy a drum kit, and there were no electronic drum kits in those days. So I tried the bass guitar, and actually it really stuck. I absolutely loved the bass guitar. It's a beautiful instrument, a bit in the background of the band. It's this nice funky sound that you always hear. And so that is an instrument I played for many years, and then I started really getting into jazz. And when I got into jazz, you look at the big version of the bass guitar, which is the double bass. As a musician, and because I've been a music teacher all the time, going into becoming a more active performing musician and event specialist, in my area, Saudi Arabia is a different country, basically. I'm in a completely different place at the moment. It's quite exciting to go through all this, and it's a very fresh place for music. So we went from not having music to a place where music is actually, people are so open and so interested in music. And that is exciting. One of the travels I've done while in Saudi Arabia was actually to drive, and drive not just to Emirates or drive to Bahrain. I've driven to Jordan and a little bit more. I went to Turkey, Bulgaria, and so on until I arrived to Portugal. So that was one of my crazy experiences I had in Saudi Arabia. This was in 2010. So I went with a group of friends, we drove to Portugal, then we drove back to Saudi Arabia in a Corolla. So it was quite funny to be driving around Europe with a Saudi license plate. It's not very common, but it was fun. But besides that, more recently I've had the chance to travel more inside Saudi Arabia for several reasons. One of them was because COVID made it hard to travel, but another reason, and things are easier these days in terms of access to Google Maps, internet information. It's much easier these days than it was 10 years ago. So it's still a virgin territory. It's still very unexplored. So when you're traveling Saudi, you don't see lots of tourists everywhere like you see in other tourist destinations, which is great, and I love that because it really feels like you were one of the first people to go here and there. People are also super welcoming. That's another thing I love about Saudi Arabia, that there's a tradition, an ancient Arab tradition of welcoming travelers, and that I love that. My wife and I, on the last few years, we had the chance to basically go everywhere. We just explored the whole of Saudi Arabia. We just drove everywhere. We camped. We've been to almost every destination that you can think of, from Farazan to Tabuk to Waba Crater. Used to be in the Eastern Province, so that area we know quite well anyway. And it's really fun. And I wish I had done that a few years back. When I went recently to Al Ula, I managed to see a lot more than petroglyphs, and organized trips to many different locations, which I had absolutely no idea they existed some years back. And so it was actually quite beautiful to see all this, and of course the landscape is fantastic. The Community Life Hub is located in Discovery Square. Discovery Square is the center of life in the King Abdullah University. So it's a place where the whole community gathers. There are restaurants, there are many places to sit outside, and it can get busy in the evening. So we also use the space to do lots of activities, which is completely related to my job. But we're a community full of life, and that allows people to feel relaxed, to feel at home, to feel integrated, and to spend many years here in Saudi Arabia working. And it is a very international community, which is also quite exciting. We have people from all sorts of nationalities working together. So my job in particular in CAUS, I work in community development, so we try to encourage the community to come together to do many things, such as the Parade of Nations. And my position in particular is to work with musicians, is to work with music. So I organize events, I organize concerts, I organize music clubs, gatherings where musicians get the chance to meet each other. And that involves many different things. Not everyone wants to take the initiative and start playing music. So I have to look for the musicians in the community, and there are many. It's actually very common that scientists play music. So there's some connection between mathematics, science, and music. And scientists tend to love music. And so there are many talented musicians. All I have to do is just bring them together, get them to meet each other, and many times I play with them, which is great. That is a fun part of my job. It's one of the good things that I get to do. So there's a culture of music, which is not just someone picking up an instrument and playing. It spreads. People listen to music, they get to know more about music, and It's something that has absolutely no end. The more you know about music, the more you realize you don't know anything, and there is so much more that you need to learn. And there's a huge amount of culture and history related to music in many different cultures, and this is another thing that we get to experience in KAUST. So there's a history of European classical music, there is jazz, there's a whole history, there's so much to know about jazz, there's so much to know about rock music, there's so much to know about Arabic music, there's so much to know about Chinese traditional music, so much to know about Indian classical music. So it's a never-ending world to discover. I had been to Jeddah before a few times. I'd say about 2 years back, my wife and I started coming to Jeddah to do freediving. So we would take a week or so and spend time in Jeddah. So the Red Sea was what first brought us to Jeddah, and we started talking about, oh, it would be nice to live here, because we just love the sea, we love being in the water, we love the Red Sea. And it was quite funny that after a few months, I was actually offered a job here on this side, and my wife was seeing quite a few possibilities about working here, and it just happened. We suddenly saw ourselves exactly were dreaming about living. So obviously KAUST is a little bit far from Jeddah, so we don't go very often to Jeddah. So my experience of Jeddah, I feel like I actually need to speak Arabic here. Well, I didn't have that in Khobar. So it's different, but not in, I'm not saying this as in a bad way. I'm saying because the city has culture, it has its own rich, strong, ancient culture. And you feel that, and there's music going on, there's a lot of really interesting things. In KAUST there are many cultural initiatives for the community that allow us to get to know each other. One of them was the Parade of Nations recently, but there are many community markets. So I can tell you that I used to live in Khobar, and I lived in Khobar for many years, but I don't think I've had a chance to connect so much with the Saudi culture as I did in KAUST, and because community life really creates these opportunities. There is an effort to integrate people that come from outside into the culture of Saudi Arabia. And that is something a bit new for me. And even if KAUST is a bit far away from Jeddah, actually you can experience the Saudi culture here. And I enjoy that, because obviously if I'm in Saudi Arabia, I want to feel like I'm in Saudi Arabia. And that is, it's really interesting. And when you're working with Saudis side to side, as I've had in many occasions here in KAUST, that's something I really enjoyed. And I did not have that opportunity so much in the Eastern Province. I was working at British school. I mean, it was a lovely place, and I had a wonderful experience. But I did not get to experience working directly with Saudis and the Saudi culture. have a wonderful Arabic band here in KAUST that has been performing for many years. Some of them are students, some of them are researchers, and it's really wonderful that I've actually had a chance to play with them. That's something I didn't do much in the Eastern Province, and I'm having an opportunity to do now to play with Arabic musicians, to play Arabic music. And they have performed in many occasions, including the Parade of Nations, in a bigger group. And they are bringing people from outside. This is one wonderful thing about this band. So in the core, it's an Arabic band with people from Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Lebanon. But they have gathered sometimes guests from different places. And so we've had a wonderful experience to play Arabic music. I've had a chance to experience many new things in Saudi Arabia that I did not back home. Recently it was to play golf, which I never imagined that I would do that in Saudi Arabia, but it's something that we have here in KAUST. It's an absolutely beautiful golf course, and the opportunity to play golf very close to your house, it's something that's unique. I've not had this before. I have to say I am not the best Portuguese person to talk about football. My dad is a big fan, and many Portuguese people are big fans of football. I used to play football all the time. That's what we do in Portugal. We just grow up, just play football all the time. I developed other interests, but at the same time, I think that someone like Cristiano Ronaldo has been a wonderful ambassador of Portugal everywhere. Wherever I go, people tell me about Cristiano Ronaldo. That's great. Oh, so you know Portugal? Yes, everyone knows Portugal now. And of course, I mean, he's a fantastic professional. And it's really exciting that Portugal is going to go to another World Cup. It's really wonderful. The Parade of Nations is a huge event that happens once per year in KAUST, where thousands of people gather, and each person dresses up in their traditional costumes for their countries. They bring food, so each country organizes itself, and we have more than 100 nationalities here. So just imagine the color and the amount of the life that happens in this event. I personally was in charge of setting up all the community performances that happen on the stage. So people played music, danced, traditional dances and songs from their countries. So this was a wonderful experience to be with thousands of people, to help them to share their culture with everyone here in KAUST. And so everyone is super excited, and especially this year because we stopped doing the Parade of Nations because of COVID, obviously, for the last few years. So this was a really exciting experience. I got into freediving because of my wife, mostly because she has already done it before, and Saudi Arabia is actually a wonderful place for water activities. The weather is fantastic, and the water is a bit warm. Freediving, for those that don't know what it is, it's about diving, but without any equipment, without oxygen. So what does that mean? Do you die under there? Well, we try not to. And it's actually a very, very relaxing activity. It has to be, because part of what you do when you free dive, when you go underwater, is to slow down your heart rate and learn how your body adapts to the water. Para todos os que nos estão a ver, eu gostava de dizer que passei 15 anos na Arábia Saudita, portanto, a maior parte da minha vida adulta. Portanto, a Arábia Saudita é para mim a minha segunda casa. Eu adoro viver neste país e gostava que vocês em casa também descobrissem qualquer coisa sobre a Arábia Saudita. Vocês podem vir cá, visitar o país ou simplesmente conhecer um pouco mais sobre a cultura da Arábia Saudita. É muito diferente de Portugal, mas muito interessante.